G'day everybody, Simon here, Explosive Action. I am back with a death metal update. This time a bunch of VCLT that was sent my way. So let's get into it. So a channel that I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with, if you watch my channel, is Melanie Loves Death Metal. She is a fantastic death metal focused, but other metal and even sometimes some non-metal things focused YouTuber out of Florida in the US. And she does videos sometimes daily, at least a couple of times a week, if not more. And it's collection updates and it's deep dives into a particular band, all across the map, all kinds of things. But I particularly love, of course, when she's talking about death metal, as is in her channel name. We become good mates. We chat on the socials quite frequently. Our time zones kind of mean that it's a lot of the time it's like leave a penny, take a penny. I send a message, I wake up in the morning, I've got a response, but there is a period of time in there in the middle where we can chat fluidly, which is always good fun, and I enjoy chatting with Melanie. But out of the blue, she sent me a package, which was very, very cool. I sent her some CDs, I think it was last year, of some Aussie death metal, and she sent me a message just a few weeks ago saying that she'd been collecting a few things aside for me to send my way, which is completely unexpected, and I was very happy because, yeah, sending stuff internationally, my way to the US or Europe or others to me, can be quite a costly exercise. So I always appreciate the efforts when people do this. And yeah, she sent me 4 cassettes and a CD, which was fantastic. And she sent it through DHL. Now, for people that are interested in shipping options to Australia, if some reason you can line up DHL or FedEx and it like works out cheaper, which I believe it often does, we'll get the things in 4 to 5 days. But if you go through USPS, it can take 2 to 3 weeks, and I believe it costs more. But it's just I think it's more challenging to get like an account with people like DHL rather than just lob something at the post office. It's the same for me. But yeah, I always found that quite interesting. She sent a DHL, and I got it in a handful of days, and I believe it was actually quite cost effective. So thank you again, Melanie. We're going to get into it. The first thing I'm going to show off is one of the tapes. This is a band with but most of these I hadn't heard of, but and this particularly this one I had not even heard of the band. But Jesus, as soon as I pulled it out, I'm like, that cover, that logo, I'm going to enjoy this. This is a band called Madara with Gorfiliac. I mean, come on, you already know this. I think her and my tastes are aligned like 90% of the time, particularly when it's in the death metal realms. It's just like, yeah, totally aligned. And look at this thing, yeah, Madara Gorfiliac. This is Canadian death metal, and it's just meaty and chunky sounding stuff. I'd say more akin to US bands like Necrot. That gurgly, dry, booming vocals are in here. Musically, switching from sort of fast blasting to like a groovy swagger. Big windmill riffs. It's just like, this is just mosh pit stuff. It is really like energizing to listen to this one. It's got some of that staccato sort of Swedish style, Stockholm style, mixed with an old Floridian style of like old, probably like third album Monstrosity, something like that. Razor sharp tremolo thrown in here. The guitar solos remind me of Nile. They get kind of epic in their quality. It's a power trio, this band, and they're actually doing quite a lot of good things here for, I think this is it's either their first or their second demo. Either way, it's the first thing to me. They're a relatively new band. And you know, they deliver exactly what you want in death metal if you like this kind of logo, this kind of artwork on a demo cassette. Like, you know, yep, okay, it's going to be the kind of thing I want, and it's exactly what they give you. And, you know, you go Canadian death metal and you start going, oh, it's going to be weird, like Gore Guts Obscura or something. No. They really are more on that stompy American sound. Like, it's very meat and potatoes kind of stuff. You know, it's 5 tracks, 15 minutes. It's nothing too challenging beyond some sort of spooky 80s synth horror stuff that they put in there. The third tracks, I think, they're just a short sort of instrumental kind of thing, very much movie synth style from like, you know, 1983 slasher. And really, this is just solid riffs with a great presence to it. Really nice layout there on the tape. I think there might have been a variant as well, but this is a nice one, clear with the artwork. So, like with some like modern death metal bands, like the bands that just do a demo and then an EP or that kind of thing. Like if you can get me with a cool logo and artwork, you've done half the battle for me. And like I think this might even just be a one man job. It's just that spooky looking photo there, just a guy on a guitar. I think it's an everything. I could be wrong, but yeah, I was impressed. I've played this one a few times and I have enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, good stuff. Check it out. Next up, we have Morbidity with Malignant Necropsy. And yeah, Geoff at Mendicant Media showed the CD of this one in his last update. So that was good timing. But yeah, this is pretty great as well. Very nasty and blasty overall. The start of this thing sounds like a chainsaw and a machine gun at the same time. It's just explosions in your face. There's an equal mix here of that rabid Stockholm sound, but more the death grind kind of approach, with sort of sporadic slamming breakdowns and things, like kind of hardcore, but I don't want to sort of overemphasize hardcore too much in this. It really is just sort of chunky, brutal death metal, palm muted riffs that they've just been hanging around New York a bit. But then there's a whole bunch of pure autopsy, just like ugly riffs with frenetic double bass, and it's just a nasty, ugly sounding little thing. This. Nothing to like again reinvent the wheel, but again, look at that cover artwork, that logo. It's kind of going to work for me, and again, it does. Savage is the word I had with this one because it's unrelenting. It just doesn't stop. The whole thing is just smashing you in the face the whole time, and just different ways of doing that. It's a Chicago band. They give you 6 tracks on this thing, and I believe it's their debut as well, the very first thing they put out. Meaty production, really love the sound of this thing. Demos these days, if they want to put in the effort, they can get really, really high quality in the production. Like, you go back to a demo tape from 1991 and go, oh, would I put that on CD and call it my album? Generally not. But you can do demos these days. You put them out and go, yeah, that's the album, and it's as produced as it's going to get produced, and it sounds great. So it's a case here with Morbidity. I think they could just release this, add more tracks, call it an album, throw it on vinyl. No one's going to go, that sounds like a demo. I don't think so. This sounds fantastic. Huge snare sound, not too pingy or anything, but it's just a big snare, big guitar tone. It's all horror themed, of course. You see the zombie there coming out of the tomb. It's all about crypts and, just horror of the zombies kind of stuff, impetigo, necrophagia kind of things. The last track, the title track, Malignant Necropsy, that one sort of starts with like a sample from a news report from some kind of, I think it's probably from a horror film, but I can't place it. If anybody knows what that sample's from, it's talking about, bodies rising from the grave. I can't place it, but I really want to know what that's from. And I'm probably going to go, duh, and it's a movie I've seen 20 times. But if you know that last track, the opening sample, I really want to know what it's from. But yeah, this is, again, just quality, just US death metal, doing it old school and slimy and horrible and nasty and horrific. All the ways I like it. There's the artwork again. Get a bit closer up there. Full band here. We got 4 guys there looking kind of tough. We got the folded arms. We've got a couple of lunch boxes there. I'm totally ripping on Geoff Mendicant Media's descriptions here. It's just got the backwards hat to give you that kind of that backwards hat is where the stompy palm mutes come from. I absolutely guarantee it. That's just got internal bleeding all over it. But anyway, I'm just being an idiot. It's fantastic stuff on Iron Fortress and on Head Split. So yeah, very much enjoyed this, and I want to see where these guys go with a full length. But for now, this demo tape or this EP, Malignant Necropsy, it's doing me well. The next one's a real fun one, and this was, I'm going to say it a few times in here, like a bit of a head scratcher as I was listening to this, because it's just kind of delirious in plenty of ways. This is Cellar Fluids, great name, with Demon's Gate. It kicks in with a dark and murky sound that I thought, like, the first few bars on this thing, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, Father Befouled. I know we've got serious death metal, yeah. It's got that dark and let's just say cavernous, but that Father Befouled kind of sound. I'm like, okay, I know where we're going with this, but that doesn't last. It doesn't take long before we get some like off kilter drum patterns. Then, surprising to me, we get the kind of bree bree kind of vocals kicking in there, like all the cheese. Not the whole time, but just some emphasis just thrown in there. So I'm like, okay, we're adding some stuff into the mix here. Then the riffs get all very chuggy, and I don't know what this is, but there's this otherworldly kind of whammy bar guitar leads, and I hear it through most of the tracks. I'm not a musician, so I could be wrong, but it kind of sounds like that to me, like mad whammy bar abuse, guitar leads, maybe processed in some way. I don't know, but it works. And there's like this vocal chanting and things that gets thrown in there for whatever reason. The second track, what do we got the names here? Lobotomy of Horrors, great name. That one's very palm muted, and the vocals start taking on like a processed guttural gore grind kind of thing, pitch shifted. Yep, okay. It's just another thing to add to the list. Those strange guitar leads are present yet again. It kind of almost becomes like this signature sound of the band to have these weird leads. I just don't know what to really call them. I don't want to scare anyone off with what I'm about to say, but it's got like sort of strange sound leads that could almost fit on like a new metal album. Now, don't run away. Jesus Christ, come back. I'm not saying that. There's no DJs. There's no backwards hat rapping here. But it's just got that kind of like, I don't know, just noise over notes kind of thing. It's odd. And but I keep listening to it, keep going. This completely works. It's like another instrument, but not necessarily traditional guitar. I don't know. It just works for me, and it's not stupid in any way. It's just another odd way these guys are making their music here. It chops and changes. The whole thing chops and changes a lot, reminding me of something like Universally Estranged, but not as weird in like a Demolic inspired like Root album there. It's just choppy and changey. Not as technical, but it just flip-flops all over the place. We'll pop this thing out. See if I get it. There's the tape. Sort of like a beige tan thing that's a little bit marbled. People are getting fancy with their tapes now. The songs are all short. They're all kind of like 2 to 2.5 minutes long. So there we go. I think it's again another one-man band. Pretty sure it's a drum machine. Pretty sure it's a drum machine. But we go from dark, twisted death metal to slamming bree bree with weird, like noise-sounding guitar leads, samples that I think are spoken in Mandarin, and God knows what they're from, probably from films. And despite this being a band from Georgia in the States, Mandarin. I think it was Mandarin. I don't think it was Cantonese. It's a lot of fun. Like, this thing is a lot of fun, but damn, it's a lot of head scratching. It really is. It's a kind of unique, perplexing, but completely enjoyable and very brief listen. As I said, I think it's a drum machine. And the band, or our member there, is looking to be anonymous, and Metal Archives doesn't help you out at all there with whoever this is. Got like a gas mask or something, I don't know, monster mask going on there. Hard to tell, actually. It might be some kind of monster mask, but this is good fun. It's a really decent listen. Horror inspired, of course. I mean, decapitated deceptions, summoning the hordes of the dead. Infatuation with disarticulation. Oh, that's fantastic. Infatuation with disarticulation. I love death metal. I really, really do. So I enjoyed Demon's Gate immensely. But I'm just giving it sort of a raised eyebrow the whole time I'm listening to it in a what the hell is going on kind of way. But it's great. So check it out. Cellar Fluids. And the fourth and last tape that Melanie sent me was a split between one band that I'm aware of but I've never heard, and one band that I'm very familiar with. We have Soul Devourment split here with Anatomia. This is an EP called Tenebrous Ingestion. Again, I love death metal. I mean, you just put two words together like that. Chef's kiss. So starting with the Soul Devourment side, it's got like an intro again from like an early 80s slasher film, like it feels like that. They give us 2 tracks on this split. Very guttural, dark, got a fair pace to it most of the time, but it does take it down a bit and have like a root in like Bolt Thrower for sure, like a stomp and a groove to it. But unlike Bolt Thrower, there's a heap of blasting sections as well. Plenty of D beats, swirling tremolo over the double bass, like all that good stuff you get. Maybe a bit of like first album Unleashed is in here, I reckon. All the good things you get from dark and murky sounding death metal, that's more horror of the zombies themed and not swimming through the sewers themed. Just pretty much old school death metal approach here. Brendan from Gut Void and Puke Wraith is on bass, but the other three members are from bands that I'm not familiar with. I haven't heard. They include Encirclement, Beyond Death, and a black metal band called Hostalov. I don't know any of those bands, but I need to check them out off the strength of the side here that Soul Devourment give us. So yeah, really enjoyed that stuff. Now the other side is Anatomia, who I think most people would be familiar with by now. Japanese two-piece death doom band, who seem to get slower and dirgier with each release that I check out from them, which is good, or at least partially anyway. We'll get to that. I struggle to keep up with the band, if I'm frank. I don't have many things from them. I only have like one or two things from the band, because they're one of those bands, like it's like Agathocles or something. There's just an EP. They do like 27 EPs a year. Not quite, but they are churning them out, and there's not many full lengths in there. It's just a lot of EPs and splits with other bands, and that's what they do. So hard to keep track. And this is another one here with Soul Devourment. Now they got two tracks on here. The first track is bordering on the Funeral Doom sound, which is really my favored sound, like deathly, slow funeral kind of doom. In that, disembowelment style is always my preferred way of doing things. And when you have like a delicious kind of dual guitars going on there, one that's really low and chunky, and then one that's adding sort of like that single note kind of like emotive thing on top. Jade is a band that also do that. I've talked about frequently. Anatomia do it here with the first track on here. Just mixing that heavy bottom end riffs with that higher kind of dissonant kind of notes through the passages there, just to sort of add like a spark in the melody there. It's almost ethereal in a way when those leads on there. And yeah, they bring two tracks on here. That first one's about 8 to 9 minutes long and is just slow the whole way. And I think it's one of the better tracks I've ever heard from Anatomia. That track is called Perishing, and yeah, nearly 9 minutes long. Picks up a little bit in the middle, but not by much, and then it goes back down to the really slow dirge. So I thought that track was really strong, and it reminded me more of something from Inverloch than it would traditionally Anatomia. The second track on here is called Bloodbath, and is half as long and twice as fast, and it's definitely more of the Anatomia that I'm used to. Rooted in autopsy pace, that it's that real nasty loose sound, lots of D beat. Very angular riffs and that kind of thing. A filthy sounding track. And it's really nice to have these kind of like this, like complementary. Like you've got the really slow one and then the more two different ways of doing death doom, essentially, represented in two tracks here. So, I really like it. I like how they have that juxtaposition there. I do prefer the first track, Perishing. And if Anatomia did tracks that was always like that, like a full length that was all like that, I think I would be well more into the band than I am, because they are so hard to follow and keep up with. But yeah, great stuff here between the two bands. Really nice looking purple translucent tape here as well. Each band gets one side. And I haven't mentioned that all the other three that I've showed are side repeats things. So flip it over, play the album again. There's the split cover there. It's a really nice artwork there. There's an LP version of that as well, where you could get bigger version of the artwork. There's probably a CD as well. And just the thanks list there on the inside. This one is actually through Sewer Rot Records. Recommended stuff. I'll probably give it to the Soul Devourment side if we're having a bit of a boxing match here or something. I'll probably give an extra point to Soul Devourment, because it's a band I'd never heard before and I was really impressed. But particularly that first track, the lengthy one from Anatomia, yeah, meaty stuff, very happy with it. So yeah, this is Tenebrous Ingestion from Soul Devourment and Anatomia. Lastly, Melanie also sent me one CD. She sent me the latest reissue of the classic Dehumanized Prophecies Foretold album from 1998. Brutal New York death metal release. I think anyone that's been around the traps for a while is probably very familiar with this album. You may not be familiar with this cover, I do have the original one, and this is what that looked like. This came out on Pathos Productions back in '98, and I've always liked it. It's very kind of its time and cheap and cheesy kind of thing. There's the band and the Pathos logo, but I've had the original for a while. But yeah, you got to say, like this cover here really, like, for the new generation, dehumanized for the new generation, makes it sort of look like something you'd find on like Malignancy album or something like that, which is cool. And there's the back of it as well. So yeah, for some reason you don't know Dehumanized with this album. Brutal New York death metal, like I was saying, easily influenced by that New York sort of hardcore scene as well, but it is very much death metal. Around the same time as bands like Skinless, Eternal Suffering, Dying Fetus, probably first album in there. Taking that suffocation sound, of course, reworking it for the new millennium, 98, 99, 2000 bands like those, like Skinless, Dying Fetus, were just taking the mantle and going down a bit more stompy, brutal, gurgly route than where Suffocation were going, where they were going more technical over time. That monochromatic palm muted riffs, dun 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 dun, dun, like it's great stuff. There's limited lead solos, but when they come, they're great. The third track, Fade into Oblivion, has actually a really killer solo on it, so that's really nice. Mostly, this is all about head-crushing death metal groove. Little flourishes between the passages. It's got a real punchy, tight snare, not pingy, but tight snare to it. Heavy as balls, absolutely just ferocious sounding thing. I love, this is that style again, that brutal death metal where the chug riff, when they do a chug kind of riff, it matches the kick drum. That's basically the entire subgenre is when they do that. And the only time they don't do that is when they're doing a slower chug riff over a bunch of double kicks. It's brutal death metal. You love it or you don't love it. And this New York style, I think, has always been the best sounding of the brutal death metal before it gets a bit ridiculous. Like some of the Russian bands and that kind of thing. God damn it, that you get into that weird slam stuff. But here, this is the kind of brutal death metal I particularly like. The suffocation rooted stuff, I think, is really good. Just adding in more of that New York sound. Bass guitar is really good on here. It has plenty of chances to shine and do its own thing, which is really good. Show the back there so you can see the tracks. Vocally as well, it's a bit reminiscent of some of those other bands I mentioned there, where you can just about on a clear view, sunny day, you can just about make out some of the words. It's not all just brie and just or anything like that. It is reasonably discernible if you're paying attention. So this album has always really been a 5-track EP with 4 demo tracks on the end, like ever since the start. Same deal here. It's the same tracks, five. Like they've never really listed it that way when you look at the track listing or anything like that. But it is really a 5-track EP with then 4 demo tracks on it. That's why the production quality changes. So it's been like that since '98. The band then went on hiatus, I think, and didn't do anything for a while. Came back, did a demo in 2005, and then have done albums in 2012 and 2016, which I've not actually heard, but they are still going. And there's 2 tracks from there. I think it's Doomed to Die and Drawn by Blood that are demo tracks here that finally got re-recorded on those later albums. So 2 down, 2 to go by my count. The only way you can really tell they're demo tracks is because of the tracks that came before it. So, again, it's one of those scenarios. You could have if this was just an EP and it just had those last 4 tracks, it'd be a perfectly solid sounding EP. The guitar's maybe a little bit thinner on there, so that you could go, that was probably demo, but it's still really good stuff. If this is played as an LP and you had side A, side B, you'd be like, is something happened to my stylus in between? But no, that's just because it is different recording sessions and probably not as mastered as much. But the tracks are really good. It's an album of 2 halves in the way that's put together, and they're only really getting around to doing re-recording, like professional finished versions of those demo tracks relatively later. Classic from the 90s scene. We'll take a look inside. There's the CD and the artwork. And I'm pretty sure this is a 2024 reissue. It's had a couple of goes over the years. There was a bunch that came out from Pathos in 98, 99, 2000, which are all pretty much variation on a theme. But then there was some in 2020. I can't remember the label that did that, but this is Corpse Gristle and also Oshery Industries, who I don't know who they are, but yeah, this is the 2024 Corpse Gristle version that must have just come out. I know there's a cassette and an LP as well. Came out in July, so perhaps this came out in July as well. But there you go, Dehumanized, Prophecies Foretold. And big thanks to Melanie for the VCLT package. Love your stuff. So next up, I wanted to call out a relatively new Aussie death metal band that's made up Aussie rooted, but they are an international death metal band by definition. And they sent me a shirt which I've already worn on Heavy Metallurgy live stream, perhaps on one of my videos here. I can't remember, but I wanted to show it officially. Band is called Unholy Redeemer. They did an EP last year called A Fever to Dethrone All Kings, which is an excellent EP, heavily in the immolation sound and a bit of incantation in there too. So if you like that kind of stuff, it's really top quality. But I love the artwork. Now, you're going to get a bit of a theme when you look at what I'm showing this and then afterwards. But I love shirts that are red, black, and white. I always have. The colors seem to suit me, so that's what I seem to wear. Like a red logo, a white something on a black shirt. I am likely going to buy your tour shirt. Thank you very much. Yeah, an Unholy Redeemer, doing really good stuff. There's nothing on the back of it. It's a black shirt, but yeah, Steve from the band sent this to me. Now, in Unholy Redeemer, as I said, international band. We've got Tomi from Desecracy in Finland. We've got Jens from Victimizer and Seracloth out of Denmark. Jaro Graves out of Nocturnal Graves in Melbourne, who's been around for a long time. Bunch of Aussie bands, really good. And Stephen, who is ex-Incabulous. Now, Incabulous is one of those old Victorian death metal bands who demoed from like 96 or something through to an EP in about 2000, I think it was. And that was really all she wrote. They never got to an album, but I was always obsessed about that demo. The two demos and the EP, always loved their works. And that stuff got reissued, I think it was last year, as a compilation. And I believe I sent one of those to Melanie. And perhaps others as well. I can't remember now. But yeah, it's Stephen and I chatted over the years about my appreciation of Incabulous. So I was thrilled when I heard that Unholy Redeemer was a new band he was in. So yeah, big thanks, Stephen, for sending me this awesome shirt. Which yeah, I mean, look at that, just great logo, great colors, great fit. Unholy Redeemer. And lastly, I want to give a big shout out to Geoff from Mendicant Media again, who hooked a brother up well and truly. There was a fantastic gig that was happening in another state. I live in Sydney suburbs here in New South Wales, but a lot of Australian metal comes out of Melbourne in Victoria. And yeah, there was a mini festival happening down there at a very infamous pub called The Tote. 2-day little mini fest, a lot of excellent Australian bands, but also two amazing international bands that I was like, really? You're playing Victoria and you're not coming anywhere else? And then I heard that they were actually going to Queensland, which is the state above me, and doing a little sideshow. Like, if you're going there, can you come to Sydney? And I'm dropping the notes on their socials, like, you're coming to Sydney, right? And they're like, oh, maybe next trip. So, god damn it, I couldn't make it down there. Now, Geoff is from Canberra, in the ACT, Australian Capital Territory, which is sort of like a state within a state. They're within New South Wales geographically, but it's a separate entity. He drove or flew down, I don't know, to Victoria to see this special event. I'm not really in a position to be able to do that at this point, but yeah, I was very envious of that. But he was a good man and got me 2 tour shirts from those two bands. So headliners and the gang, so happy. Look at that again, black, white, and red. It's my style, just with a rotting skeleton, zombie corpse kind of thing going on there. This is my shirt exactly. This is, I mean, so good. This one does have tour dates on the back, so you can see they started in Seattle, October 30th. Went to the Asakusa Death Fest in Japan, November 3rd. And then in the 4th, they did it again. Went to Queensland bloody lucky Brisbane in 7th of November, and then went all the way down to the what's it, Decennial Declaration Tour in Victoria on the 9th. Now I'm just saying, the 7th, the 9th, there was an 8th in there. You could have done Sydney, but I'll catch you guys next time. It's all good. Nice stuff there, Undergang, and yeah, very impressed with the shirt. I feel a little bit of a cheater that I've got a tour shirt and I didn't go to the tour, but hey, I tried my best, right? And the next one he got, which is like Undergang have been here before, in a long time ago, like before I was particularly into them or anything. They were here. I'm like, oh, okay, very surprising. But this band, as far as I know, has never been here, and it is one of those, like, by all rights, this is a ridiculous addition to an Australian tour. But sure, why not? Let's have a tour with Miasmatic Necrosis. Just outrageous. Again, I love this band and I love this shirt. Red, white, black. Sensing a theme. Yeah, these guys, just that outrageously heavy, brutal sounding gore grind, did their fantastic album, Apex Profane, I think is what it was called. Probably 3 years ago at this point, 2 or 3 years ago at this point, but absolutely blew the barn doors off and kind of, reset some standards for what you could do with gore grind. And it would have been insane to see them live. And Geoff has indicated that it was a fantastic set. And there we go. We've got kind of your rotting Jesus there on the cross there. A bit more of an incantation style shirt, really. Like you would have expected maybe Miasmatic Necrosis to have like open heart surgery on here, but no. Yeah, kind of gone for a bit of a biblical thing there with a. Looks like we got some. Hang on, we've got a bunch of stuff going on here. Let's look at it properly. We've got different eras. We've got your Christ up there and some skeletons. And looks like old mate here is in jeans and he's wearing a mask. So that could be probably one of the bandmates as a doctor or something. It looks like he's actually doing a bit of open surgery there on old Saviour mate. And there's another one there doing similar things, pulling out some guts. So yeah, this is a quality shirt. Absolutely fantastic. There's nothing on the back of this one. Love their logo. And yeah, really, really shame that I missed this one. Geoff said that, I mean, the band's only got one album, and, they played the entire album, and the crowd were going, more, more, more. The band said, we don't have any more songs, which I find utterly hilarious. Just whip out a Carcass cover or something. Anyway, Miasmatic Necrosis, and big thanks to Geoff for picking both of those shirts up. He picked me up this one too. This is Geoff doing all the work for me. This is a Mortiferum shirt, which I've been wearing for a year or so. 6 months or so, there was a gig. They did come to Sydney, and he came up to Sydney for it, and I was in hospital having my damn appendix out, so I missed that one. But yeah, Mortiferum, good stuff. Thanks again, Geoff. Quality death metal. He also chucked in a couple of stickers. He's done this before. We've sent packages to and fro each other, and he has an amazing array of stickers, but I did get another Undergang sticker for my collection. I'm going to have to find a place to put that one. Very cool. I don't know what this is, but I'm presuming this is a Miasmatic Necrosis gory eyeball, which is fantastic. I'll have to find home for that. And as I said, he's got stickers from the way back times, and this one was like, this is fantastic. I was pretty thrilled to see this in there. He's got a Cadaver Incorporated sticker from when Cadaver was Cadaver Inc. for their one album back in 2000, I think. Long time, a 25-year-old sticker at this point. CadaverInc.com. Fast, affordable murder scene cleanup and corpse removal, and the stink this caused at the time, I remember, was so fun. They did all this promotional material. They had an entire fake website that was all about booking them to have your corpses removed and quiet, efficient killing and that kind of thing. And I think it must have, from memory, it must have triggered a few people somewhere. I think some celebrities may have been believing that it was a real thing. So yeah, good stuff there. Cadaver Incorporated. I've got to have to find somewhere to put this sticker. It's a classic. So that's it. A bunch of VCLT sent my way, and yeah, very, very happy. Thank you to Geoff. Thanks to Steve, and especially big thanks, warm hugs, and let's go some sloppy kisses. But it's okay. We can just do that virtually. To Melanie for sending me this filthy pile of death metal tapes and the one CD. It's been so much fun listening to these. They've all had 3 listens through so far, and there's going to be plenty more of them. You know me well. You picked out some great tapes, and I thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed, everybody watching this video. If you did, like, subscribe, check out this guy, check out this guy. I'll see you next time.